Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a good friend, a spiritual teacher, and an author, a fellow member of the YPO from Mumbai, India, Ashu Khanna. Ashu, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ashutosh. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Ashu is a spiritual teacher and author who has dedicated her life to guiding people to awaken to their essence as Satchitanand and discover true happiness. Through her books and teachings, she shares insights from her personal journey of transformation, inspiring people to act in alignment with their inner self. She's the founder and chief executive officer of Arka Leadership, and as I mentioned, she's a fellow member of the YPO. So, Ashu, we're going to be speaking about your book, True Happiness and the Playbook of the Soul. But before that, a few questions for you. How did your early professional and personal experiences shape the teacher and coach you are today?
This really takes me down memory lane,
Hmm.
Ashutosh. Thank you for that. So, I was always very fond of solving puzzles,
Hmm.
Lego puzzles, playing with, messing with car numbers. It was a
Hmm.
hobby. Literally, I would form all kinds of combinations with them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think it is that which even took me into doing my chartered accountancy. So from a very what subject I have, I think pattern recognition, being that observer is a very fundamental part which was there in me, and I obviously blossomed much later.
Hmm.
Uh, but apart from the personal life, I think the faith that was instilled in me from my family, faith and values,
Hmm.
those were very integral to my life, and that held me in good stead come what may. I think
Hmm.
just that belief to that there is a higher power. And somewhere there was this person in me who would go for
Hmm.
any exam.
Wow.
Literally, I would go to the temple before going for the exam.
Hmm.
I would never carry a book. I would be the only student with not a single sheet of paper or book in my hand.
Wow.
And I would not even come back and discuss my exam because I was very clear what I've studied is now what I deal with.
Hmm.
What I've written is what the outcome will be. So I had this capacity of surrender to the outcome,
Hmm.
but you don't recognize it till you go back in time and say, hey, I've been doing it, except somewhere I got obsessed with outcomes and I forgot to do that.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. What an
And
amazing journey.
yeah, and
Hmm.
professionally, I was very fortunate to start working at Arthur Anderson, which really sparked the entrepreneurial spirit in me.
Hmm.
I think somewhere it just brought that alive in me. The ability to try, fail, experiment, just go about fearlessly trying and taking leaps of faith. And I think somewhere things just come together in life.
Correct, correct, correct. And what inner transformation led you to realize that happiness lies within and not in external achievements? And you've achieved a lot.
God's been very kind. I think it's, if there's one thing I would really say is you partner with him, he partners multifold with you.
Correct.
You just have to put your hand out, or
Hmm.
rather, like this,
Hmm.
the grace flows. And I would say 2006 is when I had two such interactions.
Hmm.
The first was when I met my mentor coach, who through the conversation, I realized that I had somewhere not, like I told you, connecting dots. I
Hmm.
didn't realize that my intuition was my biggest gift.
Hmm.
I had trusted it, got some of the best things to happen for me. But
Hmm.
so that was the first realization that if I trust my intuition, it's really that's how I need to go forward in life.
Yeah.
The second was when I was taking a self transformation course with Landmark. And in one of the exercises there, I realized that actually this inner voice is the voice of possibility.
Correct.
And it exists in all of us. So,
Hmm.
that's the hidden secret, the key we keep talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that moment, Ashutosh, was so phenomenal for me. I actually had that song, Chahe Mujhe Koi Jangli Kahe, singing inside me.
Mm,
I I think okay, so I'm not someone who's ever danced on tables, but at that
mm,
point, I would have loved to have that ability to just throw that hesitation aside and just
mm,
dance on tabletops.
mm,
But that's just catapulted me into such a strong journey of inner
mm,
transformation. There was
mm.
no looking back
How
after that.
amazing. How amazing. You also speak of the inner voice you just meant. We're talking about it. How can one begin to recognize one's inner voice amidst the very, very loud daily noise in our lives?
So as I told you, if it makes you sing wild inside, you got it.
Yes,
But
yes.
the sensations in our body are the biggest radar or the telltale for it.
Mm,
It's like when you're anxious, your body is restless, you can feel it.
mm,
Similarly, when you listen to, it's not, if you're listening to the voice of ego, there's that agitation, anxiety,
mm,
anger, there's a passion, there's that
mm,
little furor around going on inside.
mm,
But when you listen to this voice, there is a complete center alignment. That's why I call it living with alignment, because
mm,
there's such feeling of calm, peace, clarity.
mm,
More than anything, the clarity and it unleashes the courage in you to actually take that action. Then there's no
mm.
doubt.
Yeah.
And you're not coming from a place of I have to win, I have to prove it, I got to be
Mm,
right. I think I would say the clarity and the courage is so much. The only thing is that it takes time getting used to saying, hey, can
mm,
I actually go and do this action now?
mm,
Because you've been often living like that conformist or contrary, with conditioned lifestyle.
mm,
But the more I trusted it, the more it just becomes so fundamental to your living
mm.
that there is no doubt. And I think the level of noise just quietens with time.
Correct, correct, correct. Very well said. But tell me, what is the difference between the voice of the ego and the voice of the soul?
The voice of the ego, firstly, is the voice that wants to survive, win,
Mm,
be right, be visible. It wants to have the last word.
mm,
Um, it wants to look good. It's
correct.
about looking good.
Mm,
It's not about doing the right thing. And
mm,
we all struggle with what is the right thing to do.
mm,
Um, And that is where the difference comes. This voice of the soul is not trying to survive. It has no
mm.
reason to try to survive. It is
Correct.
there. And it is for us to tune in to try and listen to it.
Mm,
It's not trying to get ahead. It's got nothing to do. And in complete moments of quiet, it just gives you the answer.
mm. Very well said. And what would you say are some of the misconceptions people have about happiness? And how can they unlearn some of these misconceptions?
So, firstly, I think there are many words that get, interwoven because I've been doing a lot of podcasts on happiness. Someone will insist it's joy, someone will insist it's happiness, someone will
Mm,
say it's bliss. Pleasure is very different.
mm,
Something that gives you pleasure is momentary. So, that's
mm.
the first difference.
Correct.
The second difference is it dependent on the external world or is it independent of the external world?
Mm,
The minute it is dependent on, I need to do this to be happy, you're hostage.
mm,
Inner happiness is never about being hostage because it is
mm,
our inherent state of being. So, and it's expansive, it
mm.
keeps expanding. It's not something that, like I said, it's not temporary, which momentary comes and goes. Something which has the capacity to expand can be only internal, and that
Correct.
internal happiness will reflect on your face.
Mm,
It will be, when we say, oh, you are radiant, you're glowing, it's
mm.
internal. Pleasures, like, okay, you go for a nice holiday or a spa or a massage. It's that inner happiness that gets awakened because you're relaxed.
Correct.
It's not the massage that did it for you.
Yeah.
It's you that who shed that worry on that table, which did it for you.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So,
Absolutely.
so we confuse it with the massage or the vacation. No,
Hmm.
it's the mind that's been just allowed to be at ease,
Hmm.
which just allows the happiness to come up.
Very well explained. Thank you. How can someone build trust in their inner guidance when doubt and fear dominate the mind?
Doubt and fear are partners for life,
Correct.
I think, something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think if they weren't there, they would not keep us alert and following processes, and uh, that's also very much part of us. But I
Hmm.
think it's really a question of, we have so many tools and techniques that have been given by, whether you call sages, philosophers, teachers, masters. It's meditation, chanting, yoga. There are all kinds of techniques that are there in the world today.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's really about taking time out to firstly start understanding, like you said, the difference between the ego and the soul.
Yeah.
And that can only happen if you sit with yourself.
Hmm.
And now, whether you sit with yourself or you are walking and, just again, its question is, are you just making time for yourself
Hmm.
to be contemplative? uh, Gradually, as you start, it's a relationship. So let me put it this way. Like any other relationship in the world, this too is the actually most fundamental relationship from which every other relationship blossoms.
Absolutely.
Now, in any other relationship, the only way we build trust is by first observing,
Hmm.
then listening,
Hmm.
then seeing repeatedly what are the actions that are happening, and
Hmm.
do they instill that ability of feeling safe in that relationship,
Hmm.
and then the relationship grows.
Hmm.
That's really what it is. Now the only thing is, here there is no second player. It's just you
Correct.
yourself
It's just yourself.
experimenting with you, where you take an action and say, okay, did this pan out, work for me?
Hmm.
Because sometimes while you are in your early stages, you may make a mistake of trust, going with the ego. And that's honestly very normal and much required, because that's the beauty of human life. Till we
Hmm.
don't think of it as a scientist, till you don't explore, experiment, you won't have an answer.
Hmm.
Now, even as a scientist or an innovator, once you understand something, it doesn't mean I got it. You may still go wrong, because the ego is so thick and heavy,
Correct.
and it wants to keep surviving, 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 and
Correct.
tricking you,
Hmm.
that you just have to keep practicing and slowing down is the
Hmm.
biggest thing. So my teacher Swami Swatmananda, used to say there are three elements you work on: the quantity of thoughts.
Yeah.
So as you do your various practices, the quantity of thoughts start reducing because you're shedding them.
Correct.
The quality starts changing because you start reframing them.
Hmm.
But to do all of that, you need to change the direction of your thoughts from
Hmm.
outside to inside.
Right.
So,
Right. Very interesting. And in moments of confusion, how can one distinguish between intuition from impulse or emotion?
I would say both are very much, emotion is also an impulse that's
Hmm.
arising, and both have a element of restlessness.
Hmm.
So when I'm not very sure as to where this is coming from,
Hmm.
I think earlier I would impulsively react and behave to try it out because there was
Hmm.
excitement in it. Um, I think now it's, as I said, it's about slowing down. It's
Hmm.
really about slowing down and just being with yourself for a few moments. Take a
Hmm.
deep breath,
Correct.
maybe one, maybe two, maybe three, and just ask yourself.
Hmm. How can we bring awareness into our own fast paced professional lives without feeling disconnected from our own goals?
Oh. There is, firstly, I think that's the biggest myth where people think that spirituality and business or life are, two distinct
Yep.
parts of life.
Mm.
Uh, Spirituality is the foundation on which everything, all the pillars are built.
Correct. Correct.
Because unless, if you see, it's called art of living, you may call it, if it's the pillars, you got to, if it's your foundation, till you don't have your fundamentals clear,
Mm.
whatever you do will be shaky.
Mm.
And I, for one, I think the biggest issue with me was I can't lie easily, Ashutosh.
Yep.
And remembering a lie is the hardest thing
Mm.
because you lie once, you lie twice, the stories you have to keep remembering.
Absolutely.
I can't do that. So I
Mm.
think for me, authenticity and being real and true was
Mm.
easier than doing
Much
all
better.
the, when people would tell me, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, authenticity does not mean honestly saying whatever I want.
Mm.
The authentic voice or the inner voice is always for the larger good.
Mm.
So, when larger good means it's inclusive, and
Mm.
that's the beauty of, in a business, you want things to be done with inclusion.
Mm.
It's inclusive, it's respectful, it is creative. So, there is so much the positive side of it. It helps you innovate, be expansive, and it helps you because you're coming from a place of awareness. Your ability to assess people, assess situations is so much faster
Mm.
that actually you are moving at a way faster pace.
Mm.
So while your thoughts may slow down,
Mm.
your leaps become quantum leaps and your actions, your decision making becomes faster.
Mm.
You're not getting between doubt and doing it. So the amount I pivot is so much more.
Mm.
My team knows that the day I decide to pivot, there's never going back. I'm not in
Correct.
doubt.
Yeah.
I'm not dithering. All I do is tell them to look for the data, do the research to back it up,
Mm.
and to just say, okay, now how do we take this action or present it or work through it?
Mm.
But that is the beauty of it. You're not in doubt. So you're not,
Mm.
and even in business, how much ever data we collect,
Yep.
ultimately the decision comes from somewhere inside as to, because
Absolutely.
data can be presented whichever way we choose to look at it, present,
Mm.
slice it, dice it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's really, there's nothing divergent. In fact, it is the most fundamental supportive tool you could have.
Mm. Well said. You say also that you move from control to trust, from striving to flowing. Help me understand this, and how can someone practically make the shift?
So, firstly, I think it's an illusion to think we are ever in control.
Okay. Yes. You're right. Absolutely.
I think we believe we can control how people think, we can
Mm.
control how people act, or what the world would do. The world is so massive.
Mm.
There are so many things happening globally. You can intimidate somebody. You can't, even then, you can't control them.
Mm.
So coming from fear versus coming from loyalty and trust are two very different
Yeah.
things. Uh, Secondly, striving to flowing. So once you accept you can't control,
Mm.
the only thing you really can do is say, okay, connect dots and see what's happening and what can I do best of there.
Mm.
So you start living from a place of awareness rather than constantly, pushing to make things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's an ease, there's a naturalness that comes. Uh, there's a very famous saying that this they say where the dancer becomes, and the dance become one because
Mm.
when the dancer surrenders to the music, like the Sufi
Mm.
dancers,
Mm.
when they whirl with the music, you cannot see and it's just so smooth.
Mm.
And that is what life is meant to be. It is
Correct.
supposed to be lived with that ease, with that flow where the music is actually what's happening outside in life.
Mm, mm.
And you just partner with it and take your steps. And even if you have a misstep, you adjust yourself and enjoy that, and just come back.
Correct. Enjoy the moment, absolutely.
Yeah.
Moving on, I want to come to your books now. You have a series of books under the theme I Am. Uh, Tell me about these books, and how do they mirror your own spiritual evolution?
Good question and very spot on. So I started writing by sheer chance.
Mm,
I think it was more a catharsis or a
mm.
need to put out what was emerging, insights that were emerging out of me.
Yeah.
And at some point, some of the art books were initially, the writings were published as articles in media, in TOI and Forbes, etc. Gave me the confidence that what I'm saying is making sense to the world.
Mm,
Uh, at some, my laptop is where I can work with that, and I really don't need anything else. So everything gets dumped into it. And here is there where I'm sitting in a spiritual discourse, and suddenly in pops this title, I Am Freedom. And I realized I have a book together.
mm,
Um, I put that together, and the next thing I start writing again.
mm,
And so the series kept flowing with I Am. Now, the first book in my journey is my book, Inquiry into My Perceptions, all my beliefs around,
mm,
let's say, success and failure, and what is, does God exist? Am I in control of my life? Because
mm,
we give the name God, but half the time we don't know what we're talking about. And I went through all these inquiries in me, and then I, the next step that came alive to me was my attachments.
mm.
Once you shed those misconceptions or conditionings that you're carrying,
Yeah.
there are so many attachments that are there to concepts which again are part of either relationships or again, okay, what is time? We are so attached to time, and once you stop being attached to time, time may help you be disciplined. A clock may help you be disciplined. But when you
Mm.
know that the journey of transformation is never with the clock of ours, the
Correct.
human
Correct.
clock, it's the
Correct.
nature's clock,
Yeah.
that's when you learn to flow actually.
Mm,
That your life is actually a journey of transformation. It's got nothing to do with the clock.
mm,
Uh, so like that, I started shedding attachments, I started releasing all those. The next one was a poetry book. So I think somewhere, because I had been working with myself so much to bring the inner child alive again,
mm,
to the point where I had even taken music lessons purely to go back in time to the kid who used to love to sing in the bus.
mm.
And so the poetry book came alive for me then, and each poem Ashutosh poured out of me in less than a minute.
Wow.
So all my writings just are revealed
Mm,
writings,
mm,
and each of those poems then became the whole quest of life, from what is life to uh, how do I live life and who am I? It's the
mm,
whole inquiry up to leadership. So the whole book came together, and I called it I Am Love.
mm,
And that was a book of gratitude to my parents.
mm,
Uh, then came it was a tribute to my parents. Then came this book, not the book, yeah,
mm,
I Am Perfection, which
mm.
was a realization that I had fought so hard to be, tried so hard to be perfect outside.
Correct.
Whereas actually life is about embracing the inner perfection.
Absolutely.
And the
Mm,
world outside is perfect for this play to embrace the inner perfection.
mm,
So
mm,
that's how the I Am Perfection came, because it was a point in time of embracing that and letting go of this insistence for external
mm,
perfection.
mm,
From there followed my app, the masterclass, which
mm,
I titled I Am Happiness
mm,
initially,
mm.
because our I Am is actually the playbook to happiness. So
Correct.
it became I Am Happiness. Uh, I am currently writing I Am Light,
Mm.
which is the whole journey of transformation of falling in love with our inner light.
How nice. How
So,
nice.
because that's how you build trust, you fall in love with yourself.
Correct.
Uh, we have love affairs outside, but honestly, the biggest love affair is with
Is with
ourselves.
yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely. What a
And
great
the beauty
response.
of it is there's never a disappointment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. I should have one more question for you. Um, and this is that if there is one truth about the inner journey that you want every viewer and listener to remember, what would it be?
We started the conversation with Satchit Anand,
Yeah.
and I would go back to that. It is I know, a difficult one for people to come to. It's a
Hmm.
journey. End of the day, it's a journey.
Hmm.
But Sat, the eternal truth is one. There is only pure consciousness.
Hmm.
We have the awareness, Chit, we have the awareness to live in alignment with the consciousness.
Correct.
And when we do both of them, when we know and do that, there
Hmm.
is only Anand, whether you call it bliss,
Yeah.
serenity, happiness,
Hmm.
joy.
Hmm.
So I think the one thing I would say is we all have that key in us. We all have the possibility. It's a promise of the universe that it
Yeah.
is there for all of us. Happiness is
Hmm.
there for all of us, and that we all can make it happen because life is designed for us like to do that.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. And on that note, Ashu, just want to say what a fascinating conversation this has been. I remember my last conversation with you, and this time we've gone into a little more depth. Thank you for speaking to me about your own journey, about so many aspects of our inner self. And you're so right. Our own happiness depends entirely on our own inner being and how we are able to manage our own selves when, in fact, we are driven by what everyone else thinks about us all the time. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.